Oh, you're an OBS guy. Everybody else is a Streamlabser.
Welcome and good evening to Adventures in DeFi Kingdoms. This is Raph streaming to you live high above the keep in the hot air balloon. Tonight I have a very special guest, Tad, with me. How you doing, Tad?
Hey, what's good? I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing all right, and we are down in Neindorf tonight. He is out sick. He said he lost his voice, and so we're letting him take the night off, and he's stuck in the lab developing for us. So, um, well, what's new in your world? What's going on?
Same old, just building the army, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Strategizing. I am trying to be in the market for a Berserker and Seer Gen Zero, and I'm kind of very specific, so I don't know if this plan will actually work. I have a Legionnaire and Scholar, and they make Bard Summoners, so I'm trying to get Berserker, Pirate, and Seer Monk, or whatever, vice versa, with the exact matching ability, so I can basically make elite spell bows from scratch.
I love it.
And it's a plan, but it's kind of a long shot. But yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, I'm trying to build the complicated Gen Zero stable as well. My goal right now, I have like two Gen Zero archers that have matching abilities, and then I'm trying to find two Gen Zero thieves that have matching abilities, and then if the matching abilities on the archers and the thieves end up becoming advances, then those advances could mutate if into elite Dark Knights or Dark Knights with elite abilities is kind of my long term play, but I am not having very much luck finding the right thieves to pair with my archers right now. So yeah, it feels like
Needs are
was
so hard.
yeah with the older heroes, the market's a little drier on those. There's a lot of old wallets that have kind of like departed from the game, and it's kind of harder to track some of those down.
Yeah, I just it's funny because I had this conversation earlier in the Dungeon. If anybody frequents there, and I was just talking about because somebody asked me because I have an archer, and I posted it. Somebody asked me why am I selling, and I was just telling them like I bought that maybe 4.5 months ago, and there's maybe been like six thieves to come on the market since, and
Yeah,
it is so hard to find thieves. I don't know. I think it's thieves, wizards, and monks. I think have been the hardest Gen Zeros. Probably the least amount that go up. It seems like warriors and knights you can kind of find every now and then, but it's very hard to find thieves on the market, and when they do come. When they do come on the market, it seems like I don't have an ability match, and the
yeah,
people that I hit up, it takes forever for them to respond, or they say, "Yeah, I'm not looking for it because I have a match already." So yeah.
right. It's a real life goose chase. Yeah, there was a nice price Gen Zero Thief that showed up the other day that I had to grab, even though I didn't have any matching ability. So I emptied the gardens and picked up this guy right here, Vozor Serpentmite, Mythic Thief, DR1 Thief. And so he was pretty. I would say he was on the floor of the DR1 scale, and then he was Mythic to boot. So I was pretty excited about that. And now my goal is to find another thief that pairs with him. But he does not pair super well with my archer combo. So I don't know what I'm doing. I think I just got lured into going after the purple. Yeah. All right. So since Neindorf's not here tonight, I'll talk a little bit of development updates. The last time we were doing a podcast, we were just releasing guild features, and so if you are interested in having guild features, make sure you hit us up. We need the guild leader to be signed up, and then what that allows you to do is in the hero data, in the hero matching section, you can search within your guild addresses, and it makes it a heck of a lot easier to actually work through this whole concept that Tad and I were just talking about, which is either tracking down people that have Gen Zeros or finding the right matches for you. Now I will say it takes a while to load, and sometimes it'll glitch out if you're searching through all your guild addresses, because you'll look through everyone's wallets, and if you're anything like the ADFK guild, I mean, we got a lot of members with 100 heroes at least in their wallet. So, and then if you are part of a guild and your guild leader has has set up their membership account. See, I just got an application error here. If your guild leader has an application set up with us, then make sure that you click the apply button, and then you'll be able to. And that's over in the in. So you scroll down to, it's on the front page, guild management. And so right now we have Neindorf, Guy Kid, Kells, Bob Nothing, Worm, Delay, Maddie, Mean Machine. So we need to get you in here, Aphectz. Um, and
Okay, yeah.
and then we got the Mythic Squad. They're using it now. We got Starbuck as the manager, checking it out too. So, Beeve, Mosh, you guys out there, make sure that you're checking this out. And all you have to do as a verified member is click. Instead of having the leave guild action button, I'll have the ability to join a guild, and then you'll be able to scroll through your guild members' wallets and just see what the heroes they have are. So that's a feature that Neindorf has been working on. Some of the, I would say, maybe some more boring features that we're working. We got a super secret project that we're working on in the background that we can't go into a lot of detail about, but we have a couple, I would call them quote unquote boring projects, where we're trying to clean up our indexing of data. I know Neindorf's kind of dream is to scrape directly from the blockchain and put that into a database. And so we kind of have the purest version of a database that indexes every single level, so we can bring back our level averages. And that's something that we can't have with so many chains right now. If you look at the hero data page, we used to have stat level ups per hero, and you could actually track those the stat growth. as a hero leveled up. Well, we don't really have that data anymore with 3 chains. And so looking to move to that eventually. I'm trying to get us an old computer that can become our server so we can host some things. I have a Power BI report that I'm going to show tonight. This is what I've been working on. But we really need to have a host server in order for this to go live all the time. Otherwise, it's updated whenever I think of it. And then also updated whenever the database does a full cycle through the API, which can be a little clunky at times. So that's what we're working on the development front. Any questions for you, Tad?
No questions, but yeah, that's I do like the BI report when you show it. I'll go over some stuff that I noticed too, that I think is kind of important for people to look at when they're choosing heroes for the long term. So, but whenever you're ready to go into that, I'll have some thoughts on that.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Looking at chat here, TuneFed saying Neindorf legend confirmed. Yes, correct. He's also the person that you should send any guild managers to. So go have him check it out. All right. Let's see here. Oh, and Workhorse in the chat. We're gonna talk about. Let's just go here now. Now that we got Workhorse in the chat, planning an in real life raid to Minneapolis on March 6th. So excited to be there. The team, the DeFi Kingdoms team, and Grady, I know for sure are going to be there. They are going to be in ETH Denver, and then they're flying there on that Monday morning of March 6th. I'm going to be there as well. Really excited to take some videos, show everyone what it's about, do the in real life raid. Really excited to get some, just listen to these guys and try to bring some podcasts that shed a little more light on this. I know we're all so excited about the future of combat, what it's going to hold in store. And so if you have questions that you want me to ask for the interviews, I'm starting to build that. Really looking forward to that. So help me out with these questions. We're going to make sure we grill them, as Grady likes to say, pin them down. um, And so I'm just kidding, Ian. I won't actually pin you down, but Grady is coming, so he might. I don't know if that's a real life pin you down or not, but yeah, I'm really excited. Got a lot of questions. We're thirsty for content here, and I think with the weekly release of all these hero skills, with their abilities, it has me. I don't know. It has my brain really spinning when it comes to PvP now. How about you?
My brain is definitely spinning. Then I think I think it's getting to the point where a lot of people are starting to have differences of opinions. A lot of people are changing their wallets, recycling what heroes they actually want to keep, what heroes they want to sell. People are trying to do what we talked about earlier, which is basically Gen Zero matching and getting ready for that stuff to basically have your own syndicate of like elite abilities, advanced abilities. People are deciding I'm saying I dropped the leveling, not the leveling video, the what's better for your wallet, legendary or mythic, and I think people are kind of deciding and they're going through the motions of figuring out, is it worth to have multiple legendaries, 3 of them that maybe I'm saying RNG and variants could make it so one of those legendaries ends up being just as good as a mythic, or is it worth just having the mythic? And you kind of have to decide that now because we are at the lowest point. Not financial advice, but that the game is probably going to get, obviously we can go slightly lower, but if we ever get into like the 3 to 5 cents mark, I'm not going to say the game would die, but it's like realistically there'd be so many inefficiencies in the market that it kind of get unreal, it kind of get unreasonable, the things we could
Mm-hmm.
attain. So it's kind of the best time to go and figure out what you want to do now and get the heroes you want now, get the combos, look for the combos, start creating combos in your head that you want and figuring stuff out.
Yeah, I agree with the not financial advice. Then something that's funny to me is like we're seeing weird stability in Bitcoin right now, um, despite what's happening in kind of the macroeconomic environment. And maybe that is the macroeconomic environment of what Bitcoin's doing, which gives me, I don't know if it's a false sense of confidence, but um, once combat comes out, and I've been talking about this for months and months and months, I feel like honestly a year now, is that that is the mechanism for making this game really fun and appealing to a mass audience and willing to burn a lot on a transaction by transaction basis. The game is still fun right now, but you're kind of gambling towards future development. Once there's combat and once there's you get those competitive juices flowing of all the people that you're trying to go against out there. I mean, that's when the money comes into the system. And so I think once we hit combat and we start turning fees for every single combat instance, I mean, that's when the tokens are really going to appreciate in value. And then it's going to be like a snowball effect. I hope, because then there's equipment that comes out, and there's pets that are becoming more valuable because you're doing battling, and pets support battling, and your heroes can now also craft equipment and find higher level items. And so I feel like it's going to obviously help the entire ecosystem. The potions that we're crafting will have an in-game use case. I think it's going to allow us to put all the hard work and money that we poured into the game so far, and to go for it. So one thing I want to touch on that I think is really interesting is there are a lot of different ways that you can play the game right now, and I think it's interesting that you said like you're seeing that the community is kind of scrambling to look at this right now. So the first blog post that I wrote, and if you go over to adfk.app, the blog post I wrote is called Combat Considerations, and it's the one part in a many part series where I'm trying to go through what I call, my analogy is legs of the stool. And I've been kind of going back and forth with Maddie on this a little bit. He thinks there's 3 legs, and I think there's 4 legs of the stool. And ultimately, this is what contributes towards your overall future 3v3 combat framework. And, trying to dissect each of these in future articles. And so what I'm laying out in the original article is the first leg is hero stats. And it's kind of like, think of these as naked heroes. They are, mindless meat bags, and the only thing that matters at the end of the day is the stats that they have. And Tad and I we're gonna break this down a little more, and that's the first leg of the stool that I'm gonna deep dive here in a blog article in a couple weeks. And then the second leg is equipment, and whether it's the fabled amulet drops that will someday hit, or the crafting bonuses that you see on the pets. Like, equipment is going to become something that we know is out there. And also, my conversations with Hubert, I've talked a lot about HP being it kind of I don't want to call it a problem, but quote unquote, it's something that the team has to deal with because it scales exponentially, and all the rest of your stats scale linearly. And so I expect that equipment is going to be one of the ways that they solve that. And so, like, your equipment lets you do higher basic attack and higher damage. And then we see this in the skill trees that are being released right now, is a lot of skills are also based on damage procs. Then I think traits is another leg of the stool, which you were just talking about, Tad. And that's those the genetic traits that are on the back of the hero card, and they allow you to have another move in game as a turn. Or excuse me, that is that's that is the traits. I always get them. The names are confusing me. And then the last leg of the stool is combat skills, aka your abilities, which is the skill tree itself. And so that is like your strategy on, like, everyone will have access to the same strategy, the same skill tree. That's what's normalized out of the 4 legs of the stool. The other 3 are, really exist in this pay to play environment, this crypto environment where you can go after these NFT assets. So I guess I rambled on for far too long there. What do you think about these 4 legs of the stool? Am I missing one? Am I making too many legs? What are your thoughts here?
You're missing pets, but pets can be considered as equipment because they are the first form of equipment, according to Hubert, as he's always said. Are the first form of equipment. They'll be the first thing that can be used in PvP that can give buffs. So oh wait, no, I'm reading it now. He says, okay, pets. I see. Pets are the most. I didn't read it. My bad.
No, no,
You
that's all
said,
right. I mean, I think I certainly didn't call it out in my very long-winded
no,
spiel.
I'm
So
reading. Nah,
yeah,
because I'm reading. I was just going through like the. I didn't see it, and now I see pets right there. As I'm reading it, as I'm talking, I see it right there. So you did
yeah.
mention pets. Yeah, I think that abilities, traits, equipment, hero stats. I think that is the yeah. That's the four
Yeah.
legs of the heroes. Yeah.
Well, and I think the pets, that is something I thought about. It doesn't make it kind of breaks the analogy. Who has a five-legged stool? But pets might be significant enough that they should stand on their own. Um, but we don't know. A pet might be worth your helm, your sword, your shield, your armor. We just don't know that yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, if they carried more weight. But we don't
I
know.
don't think I think pets are going to carry weight in the beginning, way more weight
Oh
than
yeah,
than
yeah.
expected, but eventually equipment is going to carry significantly more weight, I think, and this is only because the drop rates. All right, so how do I frame this, right? So basically, if the game is going to end up being something where you want people with uncommons and commons to compete with the people with legendaries, mythics, and stuff like that. Basically, how do you give a hero that has leveled up bad value in PvP? You give the chance to
Mm-hmm.
get a drop rate of a crazy item from PvE to basically boost it to where it's equal to or better than a better hero. And then you also have that mythic or legendary hero with the same exact chance to get that same item and basically still be better than that common or uncommon hero that has that same weapon. But to kind of bridge the gap, because that's the biggest thing. Everybody's talking about, okay, how am I going to be able to compete my little common warrior versus a dread knight? Well, if you play PvE,
Hmm.
and you know what I'm saying, you're farming those dungeons and what have you, and you're able to get a spear or a sword or whatever that gives you plus whatever. Let's say it does 20% extra damage to higher HP targets, something, whatever it does. But that's gonna be like the gap to bridge stuff like that. Those equipment is gonna be the gap, and it's gonna. I forgot who was talking about this in what video, but they were talking about how do you keep players on the game 24/7,
Mm.
and that's how you do it. You do it with PvE dungeons. You do it with like many type of raids, like dungeon stuff like that. There you can actually interact with, even if it's contract based and it's not too crazy. Maybe it's contract based, and maybe you go into the dungeon and then you know what I'm saying, it's some type of strategy, a little mini form of PvE, and then you go up, keep going up, and you get drop rates. That's how you keep players interacted into the game and give them a reason for something to strive for that can make their lesser heroes equal to the greater heroes.
I absolutely love that answer, and I didn't think about the way that you're describing like PVE complementing the PvP framework, which is also kind of the play to earn framework. And that's actually probably the biggest question that I have for Hubert and Ian when I go to visit the Wisdom Gaming group is, just calling to attention that they're doing they're trying to construct a game in a space that's never been quite done before. And to me, that's you're in the space of competitive PvP, and you're also in the space of pay to earn and play to earn, where it is the crypto space. You have NFTs, and it's a dynamic market. And so people can go buy the items. They could go buy the best gear. They could buy the best heroes. You can buy to win, essentially. And so, how do you find the balance between those two things? Because if you look at any currently popular esport right now, they all standardize whatever the top level of play is, where all the players at that top level, they have access to the exact same weapons, the exact same heroes. You might have to grind for a little bit to level your guy up, but you have everyone has access to the same things, and so like the differentiating factor is only that skill, right? Um, but when you're in the crypto space where you can introduce, buying things that kind of unbalances that. And so I'm really curious to see what their answer is to that. And I actually, I hope they're listening to what you just described, because I think, using PVE to help you get those drop rates and to help those people with common heroes, then whether it's, say, they find a mythic bow that they can sell and then, be happy that they're playing the game, or find that mythic bow, stack it onto a common hero, and then that common hero actually stands a chance in combat. Either scenario, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'd also say part of the game is like creating the better heroes to have an advantage. Like I remember who was it? It was Samage Punch. Samage. I'm not sure the exact pronunciation, but Samage Punch. He was talking about it when he was doing his podcast Inner Grove, and he mentioned that and it's kind of true. I was kind of in the same thought of like, oh, how do you balance everything right and give everything an even playing field? And I used to think about the basic hero brackets and level 5 and under brackets and stuff like that. But then I just thought about like a lot of that stuff can be manipulated too, because that's what I first thought of. I was like, but
Mm-hmm.
that's just so I feel like I was just thinking too small, because realistically, a 5 and under bracket with like basic heroes that can be manipulated with you can you can
Stones, yeah,
you
exactly.
can
Yeah,
greater stone the hero. You can get two level 10 basic heroes. You can basically force them to be basic by not going for an advanced. So you get the extra tier bonus, right? So
yeah,
you get the extra plus 2 stats. Then you get the greater stone on it. So that's extra 8 stats. So that's already 10 stats at level 1. And then you get a greater atonement crystal and put it on it. So that's extra 2 plus the RNG. And even though it's minimized RNG because you only have level 5, and let's say you do common basics only, so they don't get the plus 5 rarity boost, you can still kind of manipulate the system to have 12 plus stats than other common
yeah.
basics have that same exact like thing. So
And
yeah,
12
even
stats
though
at level 5. That's
yes,
that's
so it's
huge.
like it it's cool when you in theory like, oh yeah, you could do a bracket like that's common and basic, yeah, but then it's like there's always going to be some type of whale manipulation that can basically destroy those brackets. It's just like there's other games where there's small brackets where PvP is played at, and you just have better players making builds that play in those
Yeah.
brackets, and they just farm the players that are not as good. But there also is a counterpart to this, which is basically saying that in those brackets, the lower brackets is going to take more skill because, yeah, maybe there is a 12 stat difference. But 12 stats, in theory, might not be that much in that low of a level, because when you get to level 15 and you have a team of uncommons versus a team of legendaries, and or it's yeah, let's just say legendaries, there's going to be more than 12 stat differences, even if they're the same exact level. So maybe that's the counter argument that it will still be more balanced having like a common basic bracket level 5 and under for
Yeah.
like a tournament based than having an open bracket. But then also, my bad to ramble, but
Go
part of
on.
the game,
It's
part
what
of
we
the
do here.
yeah, no, part of the game is also like is me trying to make the best hero possible, and and that's kind of the game. Okay, I'm in here theory crafting, making builds. You know what I'm saying? I'm trading with people. I'm doing things all to make the perfect build, and I just made this um transcendent ability bard, but I can't use it because the main bracket
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
tournament based is common basic,
Yeah.
right?
People's
So
minds, it will. Yeah. I see where you're going.
yeah, and no, and the reason why I say this, right, is because then you influence the market, and then everybody realizes, well, a lot of my good heroes are pretty worthless now because
Yeah.
the tournament bracket, I don't need these good heroes for tournament bracket. So
Yeah.
and it causes a shift in the market. Now, what I think tournament bracket will be is this: it will basically be a pool of set heroes, like set cards. So it'll be Level 20, whatever level they choose, it's going to be a deck that you choose from. It might be a rant, maybe it might be rolled. Let's say this tournament is they're going to give you a deck. It's going to be a combo. It's going to be Sage Knight. Let's just throw it out. Sage Knight, Warrior, Berserker, and Paladin Monk. And then you'll have those, and then you'll have like maybe three others, and it's a pool of 6 heroes. And you on tournament day don't know what the heroes are going to be, and you're going to have to choose right there, and you're going to have to
Interesting.
create your team, and you're going to have to basically go against somebody else. You're going to be same level. Everybody has the same pool. You could pick the same three as your opponent. You can mix it up, and I think that's how the tournament bracket is going to be for a game like this to make it even playing field. And that's kind of how I think it's going to be because they have other games that are kind of like that where they have basically pre-decked formula. I mean pre-decked formats and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you guys can be sure that that's definitely a question I'm gonna try to ask to understand. How are they planning on trying to find this balance? That's a really interesting idea. I think that they and Maddie's talking about level 20 in chat here. I think that they are going to weight the rewards towards the highest level of play, which is whatever the level cap is. And so I undoubtedly believe they are going to do baby cup tournaments. It's probably going to be a bit of like a dumbbell curve where you have a lot of tournaments for entry level players, and then you have a lot of tournaments up at that max level, level 20. And so it's taking us kind of forever to get to level 20. I can't remember, like, when did they release level 20? It was initially right after Crystal Vale, right? So we've almost been out there a year, and if you're naturally leveling up your hero, you're only getting to level 12 or 13. I think that the pace of play is going to accelerate a little bit. I think going from, as soon as they release PvP, I think that you're gonna be able to grind levels a lot faster and to hit 20 before we hit some kind of, like, let's just say, I'm making up a timeline. I genuinely, I have no idea when PvP will launch. Let's just say it's May. If PvP launches in May, I would guess that they have a tournament end of summer that's like a blockbuster, like, this is the big tournament, everyone at level 20, like, let's do this. I think that will be the level to get to. And then I think they're going to release, 10 levels at a time. And I think the pace of achieving those levels is going to be a lot faster than what we saw this time around, going from 10 to 20.
Ooh. I I could agree that the pace is going to be faster because we got the first power up is 15% bonus XP, right?
Right.
They could always throw another power up with another
Yeah.
15% for more jewel to be locked, and also we have pets that are going to increase.
Yep. Yep.
The
Pets.
pets are about, what is it? We don't have the exact formulas yet for XP, but he
Yeah.
said rough estimate mythics are 90%. So just doing that math, we can assume legendaries would be what, 50 to, like
Right.
he said, I think mythics are 70 to 90. He said it's a roll. So we would say legendaries are what, 40 to 65-ish.
Yep.
Rares are going to be like, let's say 20 to 40 or whatever, maybe 25 to 40
They might
uncommons.
overlap in the percentages too, to
Yeah.
where your rares might sneak up to your legendary level on a high roll
So
of a rare, low roll of a legendary. But yeah,
yeah,
and
so
then level 10 quests, profession quests, those
mhm.
have to give more experience. And then they've already said, Hubert has said, like, in combat, like, that will be the primary gain for experience. And so, like, if you're gaining experience and you have the Sigil boost and a pet on your hero, I mean, then you're going to be gaining really fast.
Yep, I agree, and that's why I think those power ups and stuff really gonna come in handy. And I think that even me, I'm not gonna say I'm anti staking, but I do not like tokens locked. I really don't, and I even locked up some tokens just enough for me to get the power ups. And I said I'll do it if I'm gonna lock up just enough to for me to get the power ups because I'm not really a big fan of locking up stuff for like long term.
Yeah.
If I wanna take profits long term, I'll just hold it in liquid form. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at, and I got power ups now too. So I just got them the other day. So I'm
Nice.
bullish on the XP. I really
Yeah.
think that growth over time. me questing for a year versus somebody else not questing for a year off 15% extra bonus is going to compound, especially with pets and with profession. I think profession 10 level quests, I think the reason why it's taking so long, hopefully I'm right, is that because it's going to be about 2 times, maybe 1.5 times faster and like 1.5 times more XP than the regular ones. It should be 2 times faster just because of how terrible these rates are
Oh,
at.
it's yeah.
So hopefully it's 2 times better XP, 2 times as much XP, and hopefully we get a level 10 form, like a better training quest too. Even though training quests are really good, like you can really get like 300. You could get a lucky day where you get
Yeah.
like 300 each time you do it, if you have like a 40 plus in a stat. And
Well, when
and
we
I think
first started
people
doing
should get more.
trading quests, we were like, all this gold,
Yeah,
fantastic! Like, oh, this is great. And there's no use case for it yet, so well, we'll see about that too.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, I hope that they provide a lot more experience. I think that that's pretty healthy at this point, considering that we're naturally struggling to get beyond level 13. If you've leveled up from the get go. All right, so let's jump into. So I built this Power BI report and I sent it to you first and Neindorf, and I said, like, help me check my work before I release this out into the wild. One of the things that you talked about in your last YouTube video was the sum of stats and trying to find value in heroes when they are, what, how have they done on their level ups, and how do we expect them to do in the future, where their stats at right now, how does it compare to the average stats of other heroes. And this has been on my mind for a while as I was writing up the kind of talking about the first leg of the stool stats and trying to say, like, all these meat bags are boiled down to their most common denominator of stats. Really the only difference, what I hope the only difference between a basic archer and a dread knight is rarity, which is related to stat growth, and the stat growth of those heroes. I hope that the abilities in the skill trees end up equaling similar in power. So if you have a mythic archer that levels up really well, that they will be able to compete against a dread knight. And so going back to that wonderful oldie but a goodie page here, you can see what your stat growth is. And something that I thought you brought up that was kind of interesting was, like, who knows when we get to level 100? While we just said that the pace will accelerate, it's been a year for for 10 levels. It's probably going to be at least a year for getting to level 50. It can't be faster than a year, right?
Oh
And so
no, it's no.
if you look at, let's just say level 30. If you look at a mythic basic class, 248 is the expected stat growth of sum of stats. And then you look at what is a common dread knight, that's 236. So they are the same. Like, isn't it, like, that's blowing my mind in terms of, like, and this chart's been out there forever, but I think there are a ton of value. And you even brought up the point of, then go down to an advanced legendary, like an advanced class legendary, that's 245. Like, you're still doing better there. And then you go down to like a rare elite, like that's
Mm-hmm.
the same. Like, I think that there's a great market opportunity for people. What Give us a little bit of your take, and then also shill your podcast. Like, everyone needs to be subbing to Aphectz DFK, right?
Yeah, Aphectz DFK. It's my DFK channel, and yeah, I kind of went over this in that video, but you have a lot of points as well here, and you had a lot of points in your blog post that you wrote up before I even did the video, which was basically saying a bunch of this stuff and showing this chart that people don't really reference. They used to reference it when we had a lot of players in the bowl, and they used to go around Twitter and everything, and this was kind of when rare elites were more than basic mythics, and then people kind of realized they could just buy the mythics, and because they had the same stat growth as rare elites. And when you look at this chart, what the only thing that's going to separate a lot of this stuff is that in theory, advanced classes should have better um, abilities, right? Their class tree
Yeah.
should be better than basics, right? And an elite should be better than advanced, and exalted
So
should be better than elite,
that's
right?
actually what I'm kind of challenging with my newest theory is that I think that the skill trees will end up being similar.
You think there? See, but then all right. So then it pegs the same thing I brought up earlier. Is if it's similar, then what makes
Stat growth.
what makes the 7% chance of going for a Dread Knight worth it if their skill tree is not better than a basic common like all right, so if a mythic archer, right, we'll just take rarity out. If the archer has the same if the archer skill tree is as good as a Dread Knight, why would you ever go for a 7% Dread Knight and risk all of that money to summon a Dread? And the Dread has to have a better skill tree. And I say better loosely because right now, if you already break down some of the classes, there's already a combo loop that Okul has found already and showed me. He's a what I'm saying, smart player in
Right.
Perilous. And you can I there's already going to be combo loops with basic classes. There's already combo loops with just the 5 classes that's out, right? And so you're going to be able to find combo loops in all types of classes. But in theory, there should be better abilities. In my opinion, this is all opinion, right? So there should be better abilities with the basics, as you go up from basic to advanced to elite and exalted. And Vibes makes a good point. And that's kind of what I said in the video as well. Like these are all just stats based off of if you just leveled them
Right.
without crystals, without anything. And that's why also I don't I don't understand really, like I'll see people, they'll be super bullish on mythics, or they'll have a bunch of mythic heroes and stuff like that, but they don't crystal the mythics, and they just rely on the level 10 rarity bonuses to carry them throughout the way. The only problem with that is when you look at the legendary and the mythic, the discrepancy is not that big, especially where the majority of the game is going to be played, which is level 15 to 30. And I go back to this because I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to like little stuff, and like you can kind of pick up alpha from stuff that when you rewatch videos. And if you guys rewatch the Berserker video with Workhorse, Bolon, and Hubert, and he says the majority of the game will be played from 15 to 30. Now I kind of already thought that because I'm like, yo, at the pace we're going, we're
Yeah.
50 to 100 is like very far out, right? That has to be we have to hit 50 to 100 when PVE comes out because that's I feel like that's it's going to be long and drawn out. So 15 to 30, when you think of that, if you look at this chart, look at the difference at level 20 between a legendary basic and a
There's not a
mythic.
lot. There's not a lot.
It's 16 stats and you're paying 4 times the premium. Like, and you can literally catch up with that with a few crystals. Like, it's so
Yeah. I absolutely love the points you're making, and you're kind of I appreciate you pinning me into a corner, so to speak, with this. I think that you know now that you're really bringing this, I love the challenge to kind of my theory that it's just stat growth. I think you're probably right that there's probably some advantage to the advanced classes having skills that are slightly more powerful. But I don't know. I believe in kind of my heart of hearts, and the reason why I would say this, that stat growth will play a bigger role than advanced abilities will play, is that look at what dark summoning has done to the access and the availability of achieving those heroes. I think it has made them
point.
more achievable in a way that they don't have to be super exclusive and super expensive. Um, I do think the value difference is going to come down a little bit over time, and I think it's all ends up being a numbers game that compounds a lot over time. And I know you kind of agree with this too. this one point I loved about your video is if you're buying a mythic hero, you're not just buying like that better hero at level 1. You need to invest in that hero throughout the course of its entire life. Like you need to think about that as your stud racehorse. I mean, you want that hero to end up and so what the way that I think about rarity and the way that I think about class growth is I think about it almost like level up insurance for stats, where it's like you are going to have better percentages that in the end, on average, if you do all the right things, you stone your hero on summon initially for the combat hero that you want to get. At this point, I'm not stoning like everyone. Like I used to be stoning everyone regardless. Now I'm like only stoning the heroes that I think I'm gonna summon for combat. So you got to stone your heroes, and then you got to greater crystal your best heroes. You just got to do it. And I think with a combination of those two things, rarity and advanced classes, it kind of provides insurance to make sure that you are going to get those stats that get you to that right level.
Yeah, I agree a lot because I think people underestimate like the value and of stones, and they underestimate the value of crystals, and they underestimate the value that the stones bring in terms of growth. Like that extra bonus growth that you get,
Yeah.
where it's like that extra 10%, that extra 15%, that extra, like, I mean not 10%, the extra 8% growth on 6%. I think it's 6% and 15. Those extra percentage growth just make it just helps you a lot in the long run when you're leveling heroes. All right, so for example, there is there's some heroes that like a Dark Knight. If you hit him with a lesser might stone, and then he has like, I think it's green. It might be, no, it might be blue deck. I mean blue strength,
Yep.
right?
Blue
So
strength.
lesser might stone, blue strength. He'll have 90% primary growth
Yeah.
on his strength. So
And
that
if you get a
means,
nice secondary class too, like a
yeah,
warrior, another Dark Knight secondary class.
exactly. He'll have like 90%. So what that means is you won't need a greater might crystal. So you won't have to go out and spend the premium for greater might crystals. That means you'll only need a might crystal to hit the +1 strength and the +1 bonus guaranteed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have those blues hitting in the proper places, you have that stone hitting in the proper place. It saves you from going out and purchasing the greater crystal in the long run, which is way more expensive than just purchasing the might crystal on the marketplace. And you have to go third party for the greater crystals, or what I'm saying, OTC, over the counter. But it's it's just like, when you, like you're saying, when you're looking at right before you're getting into the summoning portal, you have to decide, yo, am I going for like this? Would I be happy if a mythic popped out and it was unstoned? That's kind of what you have to
Uh,
think of, and
yeah.
and it
I'd
costs
be
a
real
lot of.
sad. I'd be
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I was very fortunate that I popped a couple mythics in the last month, and in the last month, stones they've been a premium, and I've it's been a very fortifying moment in my playing history here, where I'm like, yeah, I need a stone when it matters most. When it could, not even when it matters most, when it could matter, because I feel like those mythics would be, it's not fair to say worthless, but I mean they don't carry as much value, that's for sure.
They don't carry as much value, and it's harder. The growth is a little bit less. Now, it's not that big of a deal with the mythic. Like, I know people say that the mythics are bad when you don't stone them, but when you realize how much the rarity bonus really saves you, it's not that bad in the long run. It's really not, because of the rarity bonus. But on certain heroes like rares, when I look at some rares that I have that are like 9, almost 10 growth per level, and I'm like, wow, his stone plus the blue hitting, like, I know it has definitely helped me a lot. But then also, there's also another case for this too. You can not stone your heroes, right? You can basically go for a brute force strategy. Crypto Grady talked about this recently, but the first person that I heard talk about this, and the AP mentioned in the chat, which is basically, but it was Sandwich Punch. He talked about the method of, basically, he talked about buying it, but you could do the same method with summoning. So he was basically buying level 10 heroes, and he was buying level 10, level 8, level 9, level 10 heroes, throwing a greater stone on them, and then trying to get the blue stat to match. And then he was basically brute forcing, like, one specific stat just so he could basically have a powerhouse for duels, and he had a powerhouse for
Yeah.
duels in season last season, and I think he was like top 10 in duels or something like that. And you can kind of do that same strategy where you brute force a bunch of summons, like obviously if you have the capital and you have the hero pool to do that, right?
Right.
Brute force a bunch of summons. Then whenever you pop something like a rare or a legendary, you could basically throw it in. This is very risky, and it's not really sound if you're not willing to take a risk. So you'll basically have, let's say you get two legendaries, you'll throw them into the dark summon pit because they are guaranteed legendary floor, or two rares. You're guaranteed a rare floor, and then you'll put the stone on them after, right?
Yeah.
And with that, you could basically use a regular stone, or even a lesser stone will work, but or you could pay a premium for the regular stone because you know you're guaranteeing that rarity floor.
Yeah.
So you don't take the risk early in the long term, which will probably save you a lot more because if you summon 100 heroes, let's just say 50, you know what I'm saying? Let's not go too crazy. Let's just say 50 heroes. At at 20
At
crystal
20,
per
yeah,
stone,
yeah, easy 20 a pop for the
that's
lessers. Yeah.
that's a
You're right.
lot of crystal. What's that? 1,000?
Yeah. So I
A
mean, I think
thousand extra crystal?
that's a really good point. I mean, that's major alpha right there. I mean, I'm not even doing that right now. Why? I think the future of PvP will be played probably with Dark Summon heroes, right? It brings you the opportunity to kind of guarantee what you're going for.
Yeah. Yeah, and you guarantee what you're going for. You can put the extra stone on it, right? You can put
Yep.
a regular +6. You can even put a +4. You guarantee the rarity floor, and then you guarantee the chance of
Yep.
getting higher. So it's so funny because I still learn every day when I listen to people. I was going back to a Mythic Squad video, and they were talking about rarity floor, and I think it was Mosh or somebody. They said it was like they were talking about a rare floor, right? And they were like, somebody was like, "Oh yeah, that's an 88% chance of a rare." And then I think it was Mosh. He was like, "No, that's a 12% chance at a legendary or mythic." And it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
when you think of it like that, it makes so much
Yep.
more sense because it's like, okay, I never I and this is me, somebody I try to think outside the box. I never thought of it like that. It's like, and I was just like, wow. When you think of it, you know what I'm saying? It's like glass half empty, half full. What are you
Yeah.
actually thinking of? Are you thinking of, oh yeah, I'm gonna have an 88% chance
Better
at the
than
rare.
that
I'm gonna
2.6%. It's
Yeah,
2.65, right? Yeah.
exactly. Or it's like I have a 12% chance to hit this legendary or mythic. And when you think of dark summoning like that, then you realize the endless possibilities. That means if I
Yeah.
dark summon 10 times for the rarity floor, in theory, I have that chance to hit that legendary or mythic, and all of
Yeah.
my crazy heroes have came from dark summoning. So I believe in the variance of dark summoning, and I also have hero OCD in my wallet, and when something is burning a hole in my wallet, I just like to get rid of it. So
Yeah. So I came up with this chart. I'm gonna jump over on Power BI to, uh, Neindorf likes his box and whiskers here. So, one of the things that I think will complement this conversation, what I wanted to look at was like a basic class, advanced class, elite class, and then exalted class and Dread Knight, and monitoring some of that variation. And what I decided to do was also look at hero level, and so I have here level 12 and level 13. I could look at a whole bunch of different levels, but I kind of figured that these are like naturally achieved levels out in the wild right now. So if you're looking at level 20, you might be getting a sample size that everyone has used a crystal. And so I thought it would be interesting to look at these levels. If you look at the advanced classes, excuse me, the exalted class, I think it's now called exalted, right, instead of transcendent, because
yes,
transcendent will be what the Dread Knight and the other version of the Dread Knight made from the other pair is. Anyway, so the mean of that stat, sum of all the stats, and I've excluded so when I'm summing stats together, I've excluded HP and I've excluded MP because those scale exponentially and they kind of break my mind. I
one
feel like,
second.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off, but can you explain this chart a little bit for the people that
Oh,
don't
yeah,
get
yeah,
it
yeah,
where
yeah.
they might be looking?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you. So, What a box and whiskers chart does is it looks at the center big white dot. That is your mean, and so that is the average across. This is the entire hero database, and so then what I'm looking at in column 1 here is level 12 heroes, and what I'm looking at in column 2 here on the right is a level 13 heroes. Then there's a chart for the archers, a chart for the dark knights, dragoons, and dread knights. And what it's showing here, these dots are individual hero IDs. And when you get a lot of clustering here in the center, it's indiscernible which ID it is because there's so many heroes out there in the marketplace. But it creates kind of the statistical evaluation of the mean, which is the average sum of all these stats, and it creates the third quartile and the first quartile, which is standard deviations away from the mean, and this is like 1.5 standard deviations from the mean. And so you'll see that most heroes fall within the green and the tan ranges here. But then what you'll also see is that there is a lot of variance to these level ups, and that's one of the things we've been talking about. There's a lot of variance to basic classes, probably because there are more basic classes. And so what this essentially tells you is, what is the variance out there for level ups in terms of like relating all heroes down to the sum of all their basic stats. And so this is kind of like my theory of, can you compete when it comes to basics, stats with a basic hero compared to your exalted class. And it kind of shows then, if you look at the means, it tracks the differences. And one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting is let's look at Archer, and the mean at level 13 is 167. And the mean at level 12 is 152. And so you have about a 15-point range there. And then you look at Dark Knight, 163 compared to 177. And I would say like 10 or 9 points is kind of like what you would expect per level. The Archer one, actually, that's a little weird to me. That's actually a high variance. And then, so if you say like, if you're averaging 9, and you said this in your video too, if you're averaging a 9 per level up, it's pretty good. If you look at the difference then between Archer and Dark Knight, you go from 152 to 163. So you're averaging 11 right there. And so one funny kind of way that I now am relating this to is like an advanced class is worth a level of level up in a funny way. And so if you have a level, 19 Dark Knight, they'll have the same stats approximately as a level 20 Archer. And then you go up to the next one and it's about another level, and you go up to Dread Knight and it's another level. And so that was just a kind of a funny statistical thing that I noticed, is that like each advancement of class is almost worth like one level. And of course, then you have your variance and your anomalies. And also, we're probably having a lot of people who aren't using stones with level 12 heroes. They're probably, basic folks like you and me out there. We haven't been getting up. I don't know. Maybe you have. I don't have the wallet to stand pot up to level 20 right now. And I don't have the stand pot to level up to level 20 and use greater crystals on all my heroes. And so when you look at some of the level 20 heroes, you might expect a little more higher averages. And so then the other things that I kind of found with this box and whisker chart that are funny is like basics. Like, look at this guy up here. Hero ID 34455. This level 12 Archer. Like this Chad right here. If you go scroll over to the right, like that is above most Dread Knights in terms of total skill.
4. Let's go see who's that is. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me type that in.
Yeah,
In the
34455. I'll go to the tavern. I haven't even done this part yet.
Okay, so this is a Mythic PJ Archer. Holy smokes!
Whose is it?
This card is cracked. It's a player named Gula, but it's a mythic PJ archer, and it has 46 dex, 33 luck, 33 endurance. That's just the top three stats, and then it has strength 20, agility 20, vitality 24. So that's three stats above 20, and it's only level 13, and it's a PJ, X, endurance, and luck.
Oh, and
This is a
I
class
have him
card.
listed as level 12 in my. So caution to everyone out here. I think I said this already. Like, we don't have a server to update these stats automatically. So, yeah, I might be a little behind. So, as you can
Oh,
see here,
correct. Yeah,
he's a fresh 13. So, wow,
yeah,
that's incredible. Anyways, the long, and I'm glad you had me walk through this. The point of this is, I think there's a lot of value in level ups if you can find that statistical anomaly that somehow shows up on the tavern because someone is not thinking straight. Um, there's a lot of opportunity there, and the variance in this game is it's going to play a big role. And this is only like one leg of the stool. Like, this is the stats. I haven't even gotten to abilities and all those things. So I think it's kind of interesting. I really like the value that advanced classes bring. Um, Kind of like the value that legendary classes bring that you were talking about in your video.
yeah. I really like legendaries because they give you that +7 if you mess up, right? And even if you decide to not crystal until level 5 plus, right? And I'm not gonna say I recommend this, but for a lot of people, the crystals aren't really worth the the value you get from them. If you use a lesser crystal, you're spending like what, 5 crystal, and you get 5% on the primary and only
Yeah.
15% on the secondary. So the odds of it even making a difference is very low. So people don't really like that. But if you just wanted to use a crystal on the level 5 and level 10 for legendary, right?
Yeah.
Which is like pretty realistic to hit. And you could basically go for that and then just let the variance play its part from 1 through 4 and 6 through 9, and just go for the boost on the level 5 and the boost on the level 10. So I kind of like legendaries a lot.
Yeah. So here's one thing that I also wanted to point out, and there's going to be some externalities here that are interesting, but like, so if you look at the mean of an archer, it's 152. Look at the mean of a dragoon, 177. Now this is including all rarity levels, and then look at mythics. It's 176 and 194. Now, why I say there's externalities is like, if I have a common dragoon, I'm not crystalling him like right now. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think that makes sense. And if I have a mythic basic, I'm probably crystalling him at least part of the time, and I should be crystalling him all the time. Um, and so it's more than just rarity at play here. But I think it's funny how much you kind of close the gap on the average heroes out there. I mean, if you look at that, like, your average dragoon right now is 177. Your mythic basic is 176, and so in a funny way, it helps you close the gap of two classes, just by your averages on your mythics compared to your other advanced classes. That's why I kind of call it level up insurance.
Yeah, and then you have to think too. There's This is only the first layer, right? Because there's multi-layered. It's like, okay, you can have the same stats as me, but you can have a quote unquote not really synergizing ability tree. Like let's say your traits, just going off of traits. If I have, let's say, all right, so let's say I have death mark. I have two death marks,
Yeah.
and let's say you have something else that maybe let's just throw blinding winds in. So let's say I have two death marks and you have two and then you have two blinding winds, and let's say you have something like chatterbox on a night, double chatterbox, and I have double clutch. It's like, real when you look at the traits in in an instance where double chatterbox on a night might not really be that good because most of his stats are passively uh they're basically passives, right? On the knight. But if you had that double chatterbox on a sage, that would be way more beneficial. So then it comes into rolling the traits as well. And then you also have like the other traits. If you have advanced, you have elite ability, you know what I'm saying, elite traits. And then you have synergy with your
Yeah.
skill trees. If you
Yeah.
have a
There's so much that plays into these. Yeah. You're right. And that's what I love about this game.
yeah, and also what's it called? Can you go to the when you refresh the Power BI, right?
Yeah.
Can you show it where you and 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 show the graph? Maybe that's easier for people to read. Like
Which
uh
which graph do you want me to look at?
so I have let me how do I can I screenshot this?
Page one, or which page
Okay,
are
let
you on?
me my bad, I'm trying to go back to the video. Yeah, it's like this. So all right, so click uh around level 6. So go to level 6 right after the 97, right?
Okay.
So let me all right. And then when you click right after there, my bad, I'm trying to look at the same time. All right, when you look at this level 6,
Mm-hmm.
level 6 is right after. You would expect only mythics and legendaries to be here, right? But there's a lot of rares that are here. Like if you look at level 6, there's a lot of rares that are very surprising. Like I'm really surprised at how many rares have really good stat growth. I'm not surprised because I
That's
have a bunch of
yeah,
rares, but like
something
it's
interesting to think about. Yeah.
it pegs the question right where if you're even my video about legendaries being really good, just think about how good rares are going to be. Now start going up to go to past level 6, go to level 8, and there's a bunch of rares there too.
Yeah.
Now there's more rares than legendaries and mythics, so the variance is going to be better because not better, but it's going to show up more on a chart because there is more rares in the game. But then go to level 10, and there's a bunch of rares in the top 10 for stat growth. Like
Yeah.
when I'm looking at this, I'm kind of like rares have are gonna have their place. Like I'm just looking at okay, there's just a bunch of rares as you scroll
There's a
down.
common. There's a common over here in the level
That's
10.
what that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And as
The
you
common
scroll down
Dread
about
Knight, but
200.
yeah.
Yeah, 200 heroes, and you see a couple commons in here. You see, but it's just a bunch of rares. So
Yeah.
rares seem like the
And I
bang for the buck
think
is pretty
to your
high.
point, like there's no reason why a hero within the top 200 of stats doesn't like compete well. You know, I think if there's going to be a fifth leg of the stool, it's probably also like user skill. Like you can have the best hero, you can have the best skill tree that you copy and paste. You can do all of these things. You can have the best equipment, but you still have to pilot your hero during the game. Like you still have to choose the actions that are right to try to in that battle situation. You know, we see how dumb AI is in the it's no chat GPT over in Fight Club yet. So not that I want it to be either. Makes me feel better when I'm earning those raffle tickets. Shout out Fight Club. But you know, you still have to make your choices. And so I think that like if you are in the top couple hundred heroes for stats at that level, I mean, I absolutely think you can compete if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, if you and I think oh me and Maddie were talking recently and we said we were gonna do something because we kind of have it wasn't I think it was more we thought we had more differences of opinions, but it's good for argument's sake. There is like is are stats gonna be king or is combo loops going to be king for the first iteration of PvP.
Hmm.
And the reason why I had basically talked to somebody recently about this. So we was kind of going over this, and I was basically saying that I think the first iteration of PvP after what Hubert said when he said that I don't think PvP is going to be as balanced as my liking. And as the title game master, I'm not going to say it doesn't sound safe, but it sounds realistic for how complex the game is. It's like
Yeah.
realistically, okay, I feel like there's going to be combo loops that a 5.8 stat growth card can find, and it can literally do as much busted damage as a card with like 11 stat growth. Because if you have a combo loop that is lifesteal, clutch, and then the ability to re-heal itself. You can just keep stacking that and just keep doing a crazy amount of damage. It's like, all right, Fight Club. So it's just like imagine imagine a buffed up warrior. But then imagine it in DeFi Kingdom's version of PvP. But imagine in Fight Club a buffed up warrior that has last standed like 10 times and gained
Yeah.
the damage. No, easier. Imagine a pirate that plundered 10 times,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then every time it hits it hits under 200 HP, it gains 60% damage,
And
but it
yeah.
has a lifesteal
So
subclass
yeah.
on it. So it can basically hit and go back up to full HP. You know what I'm saying? So with a
I hear
combo
you.
loop that's very busted, you can kind of get away with not having crazy stat growth if you have a combo loop that's busted. Obviously, it will get nerfed eventually, and then that's when stat growth plays a part because when the game is at perfect balance, and nothing's ever going to be perfect, but when the game is at perfect balance, then you have to go into the min maxing and the okay, I these extra stats are going to come into part because these games are going to be a lot closer when the game is a lot more balanced.
I'm glad I had you on to kind of talk me off the ledge of stats being the most powerful thing. So this has me, it certainly has me thinking about this too, and I appreciate the feedback going on in chat right now, um, with everyone here. The game is a lot more complex than I thought it was going to be. Um, the genetics of the cards are complex, and I guess I shouldn't have doubted that the combat mechanism was just going to scale on that. There's so many ways that this can go, and so many ways that you can apply, your brain power towards trying to find the ultimate battle hero. And one of the things I love about this is it's a pay to earn environment, or play both, pay to earn and play to earn environment. And so, getting an early, battling up with a group, coming up with these brilliant ideas that you're coming up with, and like working with a group of people, like you could come up with a superior combo strategy that ends up like cornering the market, winning a tournament. There's no reason to believe you couldn't win like thousands of dollars, right? That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I agree a lot.
All right. Well, I can't believe it. We've gone on for an hour and 15 minutes already. Thank you so much for helping me kind of formulate some of these thoughts on stats, and bringing them into. Sometimes I feel like my head's up in the clouds a little bit with some of this stuff. So I help. I feel like you're bringing some a nice reality check to this. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and another thing I'll say is this a lot of the stuff that we're talking about can also be wrong, right? And not really wrong, but it might not be what the game devs are exactly thinking of. They may have a different plan. Like they they may make it so, all right, maybe stats are not super king, and maybe the hump is going to be the equipment. That is another thing that it could possibly very well be. But I just think I think the first iteration is not going to be balanced enough for stats to be super like they're going to matter. But I
Mm-hmm.
just think that there's going to be so many formulas that there's going to be like, okay, this is way too busted, and and it's like, okay, this card literally doesn't even have some crazy stats, and the combo is so busted that you would think this card is cracked, but it's like a common thief that is literally just, what I'm saying, life
Yeah.
stealing and applying a clutch or something, what I'm saying, something that we already have, like a berserker could basically damage itself,
Yeah,
and
and if you
then
look at going back to where we started the night, the rarity and advanced classes chart, like at level 20 and 30, like there's not enough time for those rarities to make that big of a difference either.
exactly. And
Yeah.
you brought up a my bad to before we end though, but you brought up a really good point about the HP exponentially scaling, and and a lot of people are kind of like underestimating vitality. I was in Wowie's Twitch and we was talk. He talked about it the other day how he vitality's everybody, and I think unless you have like a Giant Slayer purposed build on a hero, you should probably be vitalitying everybody every level, and at least for the most part, because the amount of
Yeah.
HP is so big in this game. Like I don't really think that having that extra damage is gonna be better than having an extra 200-300 HP. So yeah,
So I have a Gen Zero pair, a warrior and a knight, and I didn't have my head screwed on straight for the first 10 levels, and then it hit me that soon the most valuable heroes that you can create are heroes that are Gen 1s with that boosted vitality that comes with, you use a stone and you use that tier boost as much as you can to get that vitality. And so like that's my strategy with the Gen Zeros I have is I think it's going to be boosting vitality. I don't know if I'm going to do it across the board for like every class, but I think you're spot on. Or MP, like that might be this, which is what wisdom. So I think vitality or wisdom are probably those two that you get exponential scaling with. Like, why not level those up on your Gen Zeros? Because then those are the tier boosts that you give to your Gen Ones. How powerful are those heroes going to be? I think super powerful.
yeah, I agree. And what AP said, are you flipping on vitality? Yeah, for a while I wasn't anti-vit, but before I saw what the game was gonna be, I am kind of I'm I'm vitality on a lot of heroes now, even like casters and stuff like that. Only reason why is because I think about Giant Slayer and I think about how hard it is going to be able to get, and I say Giant Slayer is the only thing that can't get nerfed. The reason why is like it's an elite ability, and there's no other way to kill tanks.
Yeah.
So you have to think in most competitive games and stuff like that. Like there's a way to kill tanks. Like, and this is the only way to kill tanks, and it has to be, and it's an elite ability. So I just think that vitality is going to be crazy because most people are going to stack their dreads, they're going to stack their dragoons, they're going to stack their highest vitality heroes. There's only one way to kill them, is to have a good hero
Yeah.
with Giant Slayer. But yeah,
I agree with that. I see RK3 saying in the chat, Tad Alpha getting me buying crystals. I
yeah,
I agree with that. I mean, and hey, shout out right now, Fight Club. Actually, this was your request, wasn't it? We now
yeah.
have a 110 crystal match, and so how many raffle tickets do you get on that?
You get 9,000 for 110 raffle tickets, and the biggest dual alpha is always waiting until the end of the season where it's the least competitive. If
Yeah,
you can go, I'm a raffle hawker, and if you go and you look at the raffles, there is very little like activity during the off season. So you can hedge in Fight Club, which is a free Discord game where you don't even have to connect your wallet. You just send a little bit of crystal there, just so the game registers that your wallet is there, and you can basically play stake some crystal to try to what is it? Not no, you bet crystal that you're
bet.
gonna win, right?
Yep. And right now,
And
beating the AI is
yeah, it's
easily. I
relatively
mean, for
easy.
advanced players, like 90% win rate. New time players, 50% win rate, easy. So
And
you're
the learning
yeah,
curve is quick.
yep, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would
So the
suggest like you can do it at any weight class. I would suggest light or middleweight light. What's the next level up? Level up to level 4. Going. Those are the classes I like to go after my raffle tickets for. Um, I'm sitting on a little bit of crystal right now. How many is it? Let me jump back over to that screen. Yeah, sitting on almost 1,000 crystal. I think I'm probably gonna drop this tonight to get those raffle tickets. And then, well, we're still in a drought here in between seasons, so now's the right time. Um, and actually, like, I wish I could talk about this, but I can't. There's some exciting things that we're trying to work on with the Kingdom Studios team to um, make raffle tickets, more worthwhile with third party developers. So that's all I can say.
Yeah, no, that's all I can say. Sadly, as you say
Yeah.
it, sadly, no. But I just think that for a lot of people, if you're not like a duels person now with, all right, so if you go back, before it was 55 crystal for 4,200 tickets, and I think Fight Club was like 74 tickets per crystal, which it was slightly less than having a above 50% win rate
Right.
in
Right.
war. But now with the 110 for 9,000, it's about, I think that's
Yeah.
81. So
Yeah.
now it's about the same as having a 50% win rate in war, which is way better for the average duel player. So if you're not really doing good in duels, you take that same crystal and you apply it to Fight Club and you'll get more raffle tickets
Yeah.
for, and also you'll you'll get more raffle tickets and it will just it's also it gives you a chance to learn Fight Club. There's tournaments that are hosted probably about monthly at this point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been about,
We're trying to do monthly tournaments, and trying to, promote the dungeons as well, and trying to make those more valuable. So yeah,
and you only need three heroes,
like
not
AP
nine for
said.
war.
Yep.
Yep, like AP said. So it's just one of those things where you just take a look, take a chance on it, and if you have any questions, just hit me up, and I'll give you a strategy, and you know what I'm saying. I'll give you a
Yeah.
strategy, and if you lose, if you lose your first game that you bet, if it's less than, what is there, what's the tickets? Let me go right here. I'll even throw it out. If you bet your first game and you lose, and it is less than 11 crystal, I'll refund you your first game. How about
Dang.
that?
Dang.
How
All
about
right.
that?
Love that. Love that. Offer
How about that?
expires in 1 month. So someone doesn't come dig this up in a year and hit you up with this guy. Um, and just one thing that we've been in closing remarks for a
No,
while, but
my
I
bad, my
love
bad.
this. No,
Sorry
no,
about
no,
that,
it's me
man.
too. It's me too. Um, we appreciate the Fight Club love because, I mean, this allows us to do, like, I'm trying to hint towards some alpha here, and like the most important thing, and the Kingdom Studios team has made this very fundamentally clear to us. It's that they want community feedback, and they try to pick projects or try to support things that are in the best interest of the community. So if you guys are liking this, if you appreciate this, like, make sure you let that be known in the main Discord, because like that kind of the use case there, that is going to incentivize them to want to put more rewards into this. And so, like, this kind of love and support, like, don't be quiet about it. Please shout this out in the main Discord, and like, this is the kind of stuff that will then allow us to give better rewards to our users in the future. So I hope it's a cycle that everyone sees, that as the Fight Club team, we love giving a lot to our users as much as we can.
Yeah, that's well said.
All right. Well, like, I'll end with what Crypto Grady's saying here. Aphectz, got a big brain. I appreciate you jumping on the podcast. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it for having me, and you know what I'm saying. I'll tell Neindorf to get well soon, and
Yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, I appreciate what you guys do. It seems funny because I think this is actually full circle. I remember when I used to watch you guys. I used to watch Intergrove. I used to watch Bogside, and I wasn't really like immersed in the community now that I am. So it's just life is funny how full circle it comes, and
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. So I appreciate all you guys.
For sure. For sure. All right. Well, thank you for our loyal listeners out there. Man, we got a great chat popping off today. So, thank you very much, and everyone have a good night.
All right, good night, peace.